Hello, my name is Anvesh Rizal. I'm a solution consultant for MuleSoft, and today I'm going to walk you through Microsoft Dynamics to Salesforce account broadcast example. If you're not familiar with MuleSoft, what we do is we provide this platform called Anypoint platform that becomes the fabric for your connectivity, and you could use this platform to connect all your applications, whether they're running on-prem, in the cloud, or anywhere. In this example, we're looking at two commercial applications, which is Salesforce and Microsoft Dynamics CRM. The way this example works is that I'm going to go ahead and create an account on the Microsoft side, and we're actually polling for any changes of new information on a periodic basis. And if we find any accounts have been updated or new accounts have been created, we're going to go ahead and synchronize that on the Salesforce side. Okay, let's get started. So first, what I wanted to do is show you, here's my list of my active accounts on the Microsoft CRM side. Let's go and take a look at active accounts, right? So I have a bunch of them. And then if I go over to the Salesforce side, I've already run my synchronization once. So I've already brought in these accounts from Microsoft. So for my demo purpose, what I'm going to do is go ahead and create a new account, and then I will call this demo account. Let's fill in a few information. We'll provide some information. I'll do a phone number of 222, and then we'll give it a ticker symbol of demo. Right. So now I'm going to go ahead and save this. So what I'm expecting is once I go ahead and run my integration flow, this information be auto synchronized with on the Salesforce side. Okay. So we'll go into the details of how I set up the demo in a little bit, but first I just wanted to run this and walk you through, show you what that result would look like. And if you're not familiar with this interface, this is the Anypoint Studio. This is where you go in and design your integration. Just for testing purposes, I'm running this integration locally on my system, and that's what you're seeing. But in a more real world type environment, you'd have this where you run it, test it, and after everything's running okay, you deploy it over to a production side, and this would be running there, right? So what the flow is going to do is I have a poller here that's actually going to poll for any new changes on the Microsoft side, right? And I also have it set up where it's looking at a watermark value. So it's actually saving that. So when it queries Microsoft CRM, it's not querying for all account information. It's querying with a parameter that says, show me accounts that have been updated since the last time I checked. So it's pretty efficient. And then when it finds results that are not empty, it goes ahead and calls this batch flow, which is going to do two things. First, it checks for these accounts on Salesforce, and then if it doesn't exist, or in either way, it's going to do an upsert. Okay. So now let's see if my console is actually, there it goes, right? So within my logs, even locally, I can actually see that it did create an upsert of that account, and I could see some metadata information over here. And like I said, when this was running in production, you'll actually be able to see similar type of loggings. So it makes it extremely easy to find errors when there are some errors, if there are some errors. So now if I switch over to my Salesforce side and run my report again, now what my demo integration did is actually went ahead and created this demo account over here, and then I can go in and see the phone number that I typed, and then my ticker symbol along with a bunch of other information that came through. Okay. So that's pretty much it, right? That's the value of MuleSoft, is it runs behind the scene, and then you can build out that integration flow to meet your needs. And after you've tested it, you can deploy it, and after when it's running, then it just runs it in autopilot mode and synchronizes all these information behind the scene for you without having to care and feed for it periodically. Okay, so let's now go in and take a look at how this demo works. The first thing I wanted to talk about is, this is a very common integration pattern for us, right? So instead of having all our customers rebuild this from scratch, again, it's, pretty easy to do that, because what I could do is I can, search for these connectors. So if I search for Microsoft, I have these connectors that I can drag and drop over to my palette on the middle, or I can search for Salesforce and I can drag and drop these connectors to build out my flow. But because this is a common integration pattern, we make that available on Exchange. And I can access Exchange by clicking on this X button over here, right? If I go and search for my Microsoft Dynamics CRM, then it actually shows me, the different connectors that I have, including this example that I'm using, which is a template that's pre-built for all our customers to use. So if I wanted to use it, I can actually go ahead and read the documentations, view more details. There's also a link where I can actually get more details on GitHub right from here. But if I want to use it, I simply click on open, and that's exactly what it did. So it downloaded this template for me. This template includes a couple of files. There's one that helps you define your exception handling strategy, but the core of it is this main flow that pulls Microsoft CRM on a periodic basis, and then this other flow that defines my integration logic. One thing you'll notice is that when you download these app.properties files, will have some placeholders, and you can define your configuration parameters. Right? If I switch over to my documentation on GitHub, it actually lays that out in very details. So, this is how often I'm polling. Here's the username and password format that I need to provide. So once you provide that information onto these files, what I can do is, just make sure that this works and I have valid credentials, I can even come in here and click on this box to validate my settings. So it looks like my Salesforce connectivity looks good. And then switch over to the Microsoft side and do something very similar, where I can look at, these are the format here represents the parameters or the variables that I've used, so I don't have to hard code the names on the connector itself. When you download the template, it's very common that you put them on the app.properties files or muledev.properties files, but in a more production-like environment, you'd have it coming from an external location, or you provide that during deployment time by Jenkins, etc. And I can test the connection for Microsoft connectivity as well. Well, while I'm on the screen, it's important, maybe I should point out that this example doesn't give you all the fields, but we do provide you some basic fields to get you started. And in this case, I can actually see I'm querying for account number. I provided a ticker symbol and a phone, but we also give you a query builder that is going to be very specific to that connector that you're using, right? If you wanted to add additional fields, it'd be just a matter of going in and checking these boxes to include additional fields. So now I have the fields that I want from Microsoft that came over. Now the next step that I need to do is I need to transform them into the format that Salesforce likes. So that's where Data Weave comes in handy as well, which is this green icon that allows me to define my payload on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side, and I can do drag and drop style mapping. This is, I can even come in here and override, or add additional fields if necessary. So that should be pretty much it. So you can go ahead and download this template from Exchange, change your configuration files to provide your credentials, and you can get started. One thing I want to mention is if you're going to try out this specific examples, Microsoft has few prerequisites. And if you go into our documentation website, which is docs.mulesoft.com, and search for Microsoft Dynamics, you can read the additional details, and actually lays out all the prerequisites and how to install it, etc. I should mention that one of the requirements is that you need to download this JCE package before setting up the connector. And because it's Microsoft, it does require you to install this Windows Gateway service for its authentication. And this service is something that's pretty straightforward to install. It applies for these 4 Microsoft specific connectors. If you scroll down, there's a link down here at the bottom that says here where you download it from. And you simply download it and you install it as a service and get going. So in my demo environment as well, I have this service running which allows for that specific style of authentication. But once you have that, then you're pretty much ready to go. You can start testing it locally on your system, add additional fields as necessary, and when you're ready, you can actually deploy it to, let's take a look at that. You can actually deploy, first you can run this locally on your system, and once you're ready, you can come in and say, I want to deploy this to cloud, which is MuleSoft's iPaaS environment. It's a pre-provisioned environment that's ready to run your Mule flows, or I can deploy this to some on-prem servers, because if you're integrating 2 on-prem systems, there's no reason to push it to the cloud. Okay, that should be it. So just to summarize, what we looked at is we downloaded this template from Exchange that does the account synchronization, and this is where MuleSoft platform sits in the middle. It pulls Microsoft CRM for any account updates and takes that information. We use DataWeave to translate that data into the format that Salesforce likes, and then we do an upsert to update that into Salesforce. Hope you found this useful. Thank you for watching.